Great to be in America. In South Florida, we got a raging or Category 1 hurricane dumping water all over the state. But that's not really what the dumping is all about. It's not just the dumping of Joe Biden. It's not the dumping of the rules for me and not for thee. It's not just dumping on the most insane comments that Nancy Pelosi can make. It's just dumping. And why do I use the word dumping? Well, David's going to have to figure that one out. Welcome to the Rant Network. This is a podcast where David, my co-host, peel back the layers on a multitude of topics, never holding back a thing. We're all about unfiltered dialogue, unedited, and it serves as an outlet to voice opinions, just like a blog. Experience life from every corner. Dive into the hearts of current politic events and quirks of existence, whether it's venting over life's daily frustrations, like the weather today in South Florida, or tackling bigger questions that are shaping the world, trying to compare Richard Nixon to Donald J. Trump. Get uncomfortable as we join an engaging journey discussion of discovery. The Rant Network has got you covered every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. David, I gave you a twisted introduction, almost intentionally, like Rod Sterling would give an intro to a show that was called The Twilight Zone, a very much forgotten show of yesteryears. But today I feel very much like we could be in the Twilight Zone. The way the political scene is in the world, the economic scene is in the world, and the cusp of war in so many parts of the world, where people care about one side and not the other side, where people give to one and not another, where people demand why you're giving to that one and not to another, and how could you support that other? It is insane at the dining room table, reminiscent of a civil war, where blue versus red, where at the dinner table you couldn't talk about one thing because that would offend someone, but that person has the license and permission to speak about anything they want. It doesn't matter what side you're on. This is the definition of the Twilight Zone, which is the better part of using the word insanity. If I can't tell you how I feel, but you can tell me how you feel, that is wrong. If I can tell you how I feel and you can't tell me how you feel, that is a definition of wrong. If I want to walk down the right side of the road, you have the right to walk down the same side of the road. Okay, this isn't about 1968 politics where the freedom to vote, the anti-communist movement, all these massive things, the Vietnam War, are not abreast today. Yet it sounds like, as David characterized in a brief second with me, very much like it. And you know what? I'm running with the concept because I think that there are a number of major political parties, political issues that these parties have flipped. David, I'm not.
It's crazy what you just the dumping there. I got it, but folks, it was a funny thing. I was telling Stuart before we got onto the show is that when you talk to people today about politics, and I had two experiences, Stuart, and I didn't tell you about the second one. I spoke to a guy from Spain, and he tells me, somehow we slip into politics, and he tells me his views. And I say to him, I go, wow, it's somewhat refreshing to talk to someone who's that open, that proud about their conservative views. Most often, this person would be shunned, drowned, attacked, vilified, you name it. And he had some views that, frankly, I didn't agree with. He was quite, right wing on his feelings, his beliefs. We had a really good conversation about it, and I left him with a little bit of an aha moment, like a little couple of questions. I threw at him comments to think about, to ponder, and here was a guy who went, "Wow, thank you." And this was a business conversation, folks. It was not even just a conversation, and it was amicable. By contrast, same weekend, I have the exact opposite situation where I have a hardcore left-leaning person, and I was told by the people there, please do not engage her. She will bite your head off because she is so left. And she commented to me, knowing my stance, but there was a kind of a tacit agreement, we shall not speak, was that, she called her brother a crazy right-wing lunatic. And I'm thinking to myself, anybody right of you is a crazy right-wing lunatic. Anybody who has conservative views is a crazy right-wing lunatic. And the difference was I couldn't speak. And what was funny was when I saw on my phone, Stuart, that Kamala Harris had accepted the debate, she lost her mind. How dare Donald Trump change the rule? How dare Donald Trump not accept the original setup that Biden had? How dare he not agree to the rules that were set up? And I'm thinking, and I said to her, I said, but may I ask you a question now? Once Biden withdrew, didn't all of the arrangements go out the window? Don't you have to start? You don't know who the nominee is, although is likely to be Kamala Harris. You don't know anything, so you start from zero.
No.
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 And then she says to me, I can't believe she agreed to an audience on Fox. She's going to get eaten alive. And I'm thinking, and I didn't say this to her. I was thinking to myself, wow, here was Trump in the first debate, agreeing 100% to Biden's terms. It went to CNN with Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, who are clearly unfavorable to Trump. Right, Stuart? And no audience. Okay. He agreed to all the terms. But here he said, you know what? Let's balance this out. Let's have it on Fox. Let's have it with an audience. Stuart.
Yep.
Change the rules. You can't change rules. What today's rant is all about, folks, is you just can't talk anymore. Someone is gonna bite your freaking head off because you're on the wrong team. Listen, I follow sports like I'm a fanatic Montreal Canadiens fan, but if you don't like the Montreal Canadiens, that's your choice. I'm not going to not talk to you. But apparently, if you are a Democrat or a Republican, thou shalt not speaketh of the other. I mean, I think it's obscene where we've gotten to. We have some very, very, very serious topics on the table today. Foreign affairs is a mess. Economy is a mess. Immigration's a mess. Crime is a mess. The future of the United States is a mess. And we're bitching about my guy versus your guy. Nothing has changed. And what you mentioned about 1968 the Democratic Party was in tatters. It was shredded over the Vietnam War. Which way are you going to go? And here we are today. The Democratic Party, which way are you going to go? You going to put a Jewish VP or not? You can't. You can't even talk about it. You can't talk about a lot of things when it comes to the Democratic Party with a left person unless you agree 100%. Stuart,
listen, unless they find someone that is so anti-Israel and just so happens to call himself Jewish, kind of like Bernie Sanders. Thank
God he's never going to be.
I understand, David, but someone of that mentality that's so anti-Israel that you would end up losing Michigan, which would mean you would lose the election. So it's not a question of who's best. You find today that you gotta pick based off of a balanced team. I think the Vatican made a statement about the opening ceremonies of the Olympics that is so powerful in what you're about to formalize and conclude in this rant that it's actually profound. I've got to tip my hat off to the Vatican, which is kind of funny. A Jew tips his hat off to the church. And the reason being is they basically came out with a statement that summarizes that you cannot disenfranchise a group to benefit another group and call it progress. and to be honest with you, it is a much longer letter that the Pope wrote in French to the French people. And it took a week. But if you think about it, the simplicity of what this little one-page letter comes across and says is that bravo, that the church isn't anti-woke, it's discriminating against everyone else by trying to represent the woke. It's just ridiculous. And I got to be honest with you, there's not many things that David will tell you that I agree with the Vatican on. Like, it's just not a thing that I could say I do. But they literally went about describing what's going on in the Democratic Party as well. They're too busy trying to grasp the fringe of these radical, crazy sides and trying to string them together and saying, I've got a party. Why do I say that? The radical AOC, the radical Tlaib, the radical Omar, the Bookers of the world. These guys are radical people that make the 1968s look like pumpkin pie. But yet we have to appease them, listen to their vehement lies, and just subscribe to their thinking, or you have become the enemy. David, if you can understand that statement and you could agree, this is the status of America. How the left-wing party literally goes and tries to take over the world.
But Stuart, it's complicit with the media. It's complicit with these, with what's going on. Is that, the media is repainting Kamala Harris as this great savior. She wasn't the border czar. She was never the border czar. My God, we've got 3 years of quotes that she was responsible for the border. When Donald Trump said that it was on Kamala Harris's watch that Laken Riley's murderer came into the United States, media went ballistic. The Democrats went nuts. Guys, I just want to understand something. How many more times are you going to rewrite history? How many more times are you going to change the narrative? How many more times are you going to tell me that things are wonderful and things are like you've lied? You've got caught with your hands in the cookie jar, folks. People are upset with you. There's a big disconnect today. You could see it. Yeah, there are people in the African American communities and other communities who are very much, the Democrats are for me and I get it. Not the okay, fine. That's what you want to be. That's what you want to believe. But there is a shift. There is a very big seismic shift. And, when you talk about Michigan and Minnesota and Pennsylvania and all these other places, they are fed up with the Democratic Party. They're fed up with the lack of leadership in the Democratic Party. They're fed up with being lied to. John Fetterman, who, when he ran, was applauded. Think about it. He was applauded by the Democrats. But when he disagreed with the Democrats, they disenfranchised. They wanted to disassociate with him.
Yep.
You either are on my team or you're out. And it's amazing because the Republicans, we saw what happened with the speaker, with McCarthy, when he was thrown out. And everybody says, you see, the Republicans are divided. The Democrats are seriously divided. This Israel issue divided them hard. Anti-Semitism divided them hard. Now all of a sudden they're caught with their hands in the cookie jar. They did nothing. They did nothing for immigration. We see serious crime and death in the streets. We see homelessness at an incredible rate. We see immigrants bust all over the United States. Mayors, Stuart, Democratic mayors begging Biden and Harris to do something. And then the Biden-Harris team says, we were wonderful. Biden should be on Mount Rushmore, according to Nancy Pelosi. I mean, the insanity of rewriting history, Stuart. If you're not on my team, if you don't believe the narrative I give you, you are the enemy of the United States. You are treasonous. I just want to know how many more flags does the Democratic Party is okay for people to stomp on before people, before they wake up and they go, we've lost the touch of the people. We don't know what's going on. We keep lying to the people. Maybe it's time we start giving them the truth.
David, if they could give the truth or knew the truth, we wouldn't be talking today. David, this is going to be a wrap for today, David, because we're going to keep it under 15 minutes for the first time in like 2 months. And that's a wrap. A huge episode. Thanks for lending your ears, your eyes, and everything else. It's been a real pleasure sharing this rant and these thoughts with you. Yes, sometimes we pick on the people we have lunch or dinner with, but we hope you still have lunch and dinner with us. We're not going to always talk about you. Remember, your support means the world to us. We're excited and welcome to invite you back again and again. Your insight is instrumental in how we curve and make these rants. Remember, we're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. Stay connected with us on social media or any of the channels. Don't forget that great website. It's got an archive of 3.5 years of David and I doing this. Thank you for joining us. Until next rendezvous, David, say sayonara